The Chevrolet Corvette Stingray safety car is on track. And that means the Radical Cup North America field is drawing down pit lane. And it is time to go racing for this Radical Cup North America from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin on this Sunday afternoon. My name is Eric Miller along with Tom Juror. Tom, good afternoon. Race 3, we've got a special treat. We've got a mandatory pit stop in the middle of this one where we haven't seen that yet this weekend for Radical Cup. But it's time to get racing again here on a late Sunday afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all of those fans joining us from around the world on the live stream as well. Of course, if you are trackside, it's time to quickly get a cold one in hand, get back along the edge of the circuit because the Radical Cup is rolling out of pit lane. There will be one pace lap and then we'll be going green. As you mentioned, a mandatory pit stop. The pit window opens up 15 minutes into the race unless there is a full course caution which may slightly delay that pit window opening. And then it will finish 25 minutes into this one. So 10 minutes effectively to make the stop. Of course, not a big window in terms of laps given the lap times around here. And it always throws a cat amongst the pigeons. Of course, drivers have had to prepare for this one throughout the weekend. And the main thing is from the pit in board to the pit out board, they must do that in 60 seconds. So drivers and teams, or teams can work on the cars, but they're not obliged to. I suspect we'll see a few fans blowing cool air into those cars. It is really, really hot here this afternoon. The conditions are going to be quite different for these drivers. Yeah, 92 degrees Fahrenheit. And it feels like 100 degrees. So we'll take you through this grid. Vaughan Gleis will be off the back row, and in fact, David Albin won't take part in this one. Row 14, and we'll see Jim Booth and Dale Dillon. Again, two drivers that won't partake. So in row 13, it will be Aaron Ziegler alongside Jack Yang. Look out for Jack Yang and Vaughan Gleis to be coming up through the field. Dermot Ennis will start from row 12 on the grid alongside Kenny Nail. Richard Durocher will be starting the 71 machine alongside Dennis Kelly out of 11th in the Pro 1500th class, 21st on the grid. Mike D'Ambrose Sr., so we'll see what he can do. He was second fastest in the Pro 1340s yesterday. He'll start alongside David Mason. And from row 9, it's Andy Lowe who will start alongside the pole sitter in Pro 1340. Brady Clapham, Andy Lowe in a new car for this one. So he had some damage to the other one and was lucky enough for Valor Racing for them to supply a new car. Arul Venkatesh will start from 15th on the grid alongside Luke Kendall. And then from row 7, it's Spencer Schmidt who will start from 13th with Chris Hunn in 14th. And look out for Spencer Schmidt. He was saying that he had some pace. Mike Anzaldi was also one that was very, very quick, and we expect him to go well today. He'll start alongside Valen Venkatesh. From the 5th row of the grid, Austin Riley. Look out for the young gun in car 20. He was ultra quick in Pro 1500. He's had a third, he's had a second. He's looking for a first place today. Ben Blander with some car troubles yesterday. We expect he will be flying fast in those Platinum class cars. Raider Nicole will be your pole man in the Pro 1500 from row 4 alongside Chip Roma. Row 3, it'll be Scott Wagner alongside James Long, who's had a solid run this weekend, taking our Sunoco hard charger yesterday. John Field also had some car trouble. He will start on the second row of the grid alongside Louis Schreiber, who we have an in-car camera we're hoping to switch to and see some of the action on board from Louis. And it's Wayne Williams who's on the pole. Steve Jenks is in second. And Steve Jenks, a little bit unlucky perhaps not to win it yesterday, but Wayne Williams was the star of the show for 2 races but didn't come away with a win. We'll see if Wayne can break his unlucky streak. And we're riding on board with Louis Schreiber. And it looks to me like the green flag's already flying. It is now, certainly, because we're racing, and you could see the jump that...
contact on the front straightaway before the start-finish line.
Yeah, and you could see that jump that Steve Jenks had got. And so already Wayne Williams on the back foot as John Field goes into third place. Further back, there's a big tussle with the Pro 1500 and 1340 cars. So Raiden Nicol appears to have the lead in Pro 1500. He does, and he dives to the inside down towards turn 3. Ben Blander has a mirrorful and an eyeful of Raiden Nicol in the 93. Valen Venkatesh, very strong start for him too. And it looks like he's ahead of Austin Riley with Mike Anzaldi in the thick of things too. So down into turn 5 for the first time. Chip Romer having a big lunge to the inside of Scott Wagner. And I think Chip Romer's made that one stick as they come into 6. And Steve Jenks with a huge big black and red car behind him in John Field. John Field also was saying he was down on power. And One Motorsports doing the business, because it looks to me like Field has got all the motor underneath him, 430 brake horsepower, as they round into the carousel.
Yeah, and in the carousel, we'll see a couple of different lines here that'll develop throughout the race as well. Different levels of grip, all that different rubber from, of course, the previous sessions. All day today, very hot track conditions, over 120 degrees on the track. This track is going to take rubber a little bit differently this afternoon.
Steve Jenks with a big moment at the exit of the kink. He ran super wide. He was all over the grasscrete. And now John Field has gone around the outside of turn 12. Fantastic stuff from John Field. Steve Jenks will be sighing relief, though, because he managed to hang it out there real wide on the kink and has kept second position, lucky not to be in the wall. What can Wayne Williams do now? He's been relegated from the pole down to third place. Williams will have to tuck under the gearbox of Steve Jenks as they head down the long straightaway. We'll see if he gets a tow. It was fantastic to see how well the IndyCar slipstream riding on board with Louis Schreiber, and you can see he has a look to the inside. Schreiber now, and Romer's around. Schreiber avoids him. Romer has spun Schreiber up to 5th place.
And Romer hopefully trying to get that car refired. Looks like it's starting to roll. Drops the clutch and back underway into turn 1.
It's amazing how quickly the rear stepped out on that car. I'm not sure. It looks to me like a mechanical issue for Chip Romer. Disaster for him so early on in this race. Good news, though, we're still racing green, which is nice to see. Had a couple of full course cautions early in Radical Cup over the last couple of days. And so far, the field settled down into what is a 40-minute race with a mandatory pit stop in the middle. And Steve Jenks back ahead, or still ahead of John Field, back ahead of John Field. John Field was ahead of him as they crossed the timing loop down the straightaway. John Field looking very, very menacing as they come into the carousel. Different line for Field, very tight, up next to the white line. Steve Jenks wider, and you just wonder how much Steve Jenks is going to push through the kink this time. Last time he was out on the concrete and hanging on for dear life. This time, he's a little bit neater. Gets a good run out of the kink and down into 12.
And this is a great passing opportunity if you can be close enough. I don't think that Field is quite there yet, but Wayne Williams, is he saving his car? We know that he had some brake fade problems in race 1, likely in race 2 as well. Can Wayne hang on to a podium spot here?
Yeah, the other question is how these guys have set up the cars. Big difference in track temperature, of course. There's a lot of Firestone rubber down, which is trying to interact with the Hankook tyres of the Radical Cup cars. And you can see just again how hard Steve Jenks is pushing in that 68 machine. He wants a win here this weekend. Hasn't found the top step of the Platinum Class podium for a little while now, Steve Jenks. And so who has set up their car to be strong on the early phase of the race as opposed to being strong later on? And of course the pit stop in the middle, everything's going to heat soak down pit lane. It will feel like eternity as those guys wait there for 20 odd seconds. We'll see some strategy play out too, particularly if it's green flag racing. Who will go for the undercut? Who will try and stay out and attempt the overcut? Ray Nicole still leads Pro 1500 from Valen Venkatesh, who's having a solid race, but it's Spencer Schmidt who's made moves through the pack and sits third. Mike Anzaldi fourth, so it's a good run for those guys. Vaughan Glace also impressive, up to fifth. So Vaughan was further back than he would like. In fact, he was right at the back of the pack as we started this one. Vaughan Glace already up to 10th, 11th overall.
And just looking at that onboard, watching the throttle trace as well, within that Louis Schreiber onboard there, just interesting to see. He was almost completely off the throttle all the way through the braking zone, obviously carrying quite a bit of speed through the center of turn 5 as well, and getting right back onto the power, almost 100% there. And Field has caught Jenks.
Absolutely. John Field looking very racy around the carousel. That tight line working well for the 37 driver, the former American Le Mans Series star. Trying to hustle Steve Jenks, but Jenks does rocket out of the carousel and seems to get a couple of car links on Field. And Jenks with the slightly newer, the updated SR10 XXR does have slightly more downforce on the front end of that machine. And I think that's the difference we're seeing.
And competition in this Radical Cup North America, of course, across 3 different platforms of the car. Platinum, Pro 1500, Pro 1340. We'll recap where they are after we come across the start-finish line. But, of course, each of the end plates on these cars will continue to identify what class they're in. And we've got a full course yellow. Looks like a car down in turn 8.
Yeah, so a car off at turn 8. Now, he has continued. Of course, the full course caution's coming out, though. Too late to withdraw those. So, of course, it's always important. Safety is the absolute #1 priority, particularly with some of the high-speed sections of this circuit. So, a reprieve, if you will, for Steve Jenks, who's been soaking up all the pressure from John Field. Wayne Williams, he'll be happy, as will this man. We're running on board with Louis Schreiber, the hometown hero that yesterday took a win. It'd been a long time coming for Louis Schreiber too, and there was certainly a big celebration in the paddock last night.
I would imagine quite a bit of emotion at the podium last night as well.
Huge amount of emotion, and Louis Schreiber dedicating the win to Marko Niketic, and Louis Schreiber with Marko's foundation on board on the car this weekend. And all of the Schreiber family, the Niketic family, celebrating the win. It was a huge win, and impressive for Louis to take that with all the emotions running hot underneath the helmet, I'm sure. Again, Louis dedicating that win to Marko, a young man that we tragically lost, and I know that it meant a lot to Louis. He'll see what he can do again in this one, as we've been told that we expect the safety car to be pulled back in. So the pit stop window hasn't opened yet, and we're going to go back green. The 2 zeros come into pit lane, so that's Austin Riley. And Austin was hoping for a win today. It won't be for Austin Riley, so he was the car that spun in turn 8. Don't know yet whether he had a helping hand or whether he was unlucky to do, just unlucky. Now, the pit window hasn't opened, so that is an unscheduled stop. I suspect he's out of this one. So it's Mike D'Ambrose Sr. who's ahead of Brady Clapham. That's not the first time we've seen it this weekend, but certainly Mike D'Ambrose trying to convert his speed that he's carried all throughout the 4 days of on-track action here at Road America. Mike D'Ambrose from Autobahn Country Club, mixing it up with some young guns, the likes of Brady Clapham from Canada, who's leading the points in Pro 1340. Kenny Nail sits 3rd in class. He will be in a good fight with Dermot Ennis and Aaron Ziegler. Those guys have been very, very close in terms of lap times all weekend. And Ziegler having a bit of a moment yesterday in turn 5. Realised his mistake, got the car back going, and is set to try and take a podium again. So lots of names over the three classes on the podiums in the last couple of races. The competition's hot in all three classes. Possibly the most fierce in Pro 1500, although the Platinum class at the front of the field is very, very, very strong at the moment. With a former American Le Mans Series champion, the green flag is out, and John Field undoubtedly will help. What can Louis Schreiber do? You can see all the top four cars tucked under the gearbox. Louis Schreiber has a look, possibly does a little bit of a fake to the inside and then the outside. Side by side they go as they head down into turn one. Can Schreiber outbrake Scott Wagner? That's a big, bold move. And we'll wait and see who came out on top in that one. And it is Louis Schreiber who remains behind Scott Wagner. So teammates, but no love lost between the JBR teammates. Louis Schreiber trying around the outside. He'll have another go down into turn 5. And Wayne Williams, what can he do from third place?
And Williams again had quite the considerable lead in that round one on Friday, and had been such a hard charge throughout that entire race. And the final waning moments, the final 2 miles, the brakes began to fade, and John Field was able to attack. You've got to think with John Field currently in that second spot behind Steve Jenks, he's looking to pounce here soon, but Williams just trying to pick up the pieces in that third spot currently.
Yeah, the pit window is about to open, so John Field probably thinking, I need to get past. I need to try and find some fresh air, some clean air, get a little bit of a gap, because who knows what's going to happen on the in-lap, the out-lap, and everything in the middle down pit lane. Of course, a little bit of pressure on these teams to make sure their drivers don't release into the pit lane too soon. A mandatory stop preparing these drivers for what may lay ahead in their career, and side by side, that was Wayne Williams on John Field. Wayne Williams, a fantastic run down from the kink into Canada corner, and Williams is through.
And Williams, very nicely done out of Kettle Bottoms into Canada corner, up into that second spot, and has pulled about 5 or 6 car lengths onto John Field. So you wonder if Field had to pinch that car a little bit, got a little bit of momentum loss there.
Yeah, Field seems to be dropping back now into the clutches of Scott Wagner.
But we did see Field do that in race number 2 yesterday as well. He started saving those front tires and then went on the attack with about 4 or 5 laps to go.
Indeed, and they're yet to do the pit stops. So you can see now Scott Wagner having a look on John Field. So there's plenty to play for. Big points on the line for all three classes, especially in the Platinum class. Wayne Williams leads the points. He hasn't taken a win yet in the championship. Steve Jenks is right behind him in terms of the points too. John Field's been collecting plenty. Louis Schreiber's trying to make amends for a bit of a rough start to the year. And in Platinum class, Raiden Nicol, 8 wins from 8 starts. He is absolutely romped away in terms of the points. So we continue to cover the drivers in the Platinum class. Hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of the action further back in the pack as well. But this is a great battle between these front runners. And there you start to see the gap back towards Raiden Nicol. So that would be James Long coming through. And then Raiden Nicol, and impressively, Arul Venkatesh right in the hunt, chasing down Raiden Nicol. And there is Spencer Schmidt in that black and gold car. So Spencer Schmidt also duking it out with Valen Venkatesh, and it looks like Vaughn Glace is in that battle as well. Glace shown third, Venkatesh second at the moment, but they were tussling around as they were coming down from 7 into 8.
Mike D'Ambrose Sr. leading Pro 1340 at the moment.
It looks to me like... so it is Vaughn ahead of Schmidt. Then we're back to one of the Primal Racing cars. That's David Mason, I think. as Steve Jenks starts another one. A good gap between himself and Wayne Williams now. Steve Jenks with some fresh air. Louis Schreiber right alongside, trying to make a dive down into the inside, almost on the grass. Scott Wagner giving him just enough room, but Wagner holds on around the outside. That was brave stuff from Scott Wagner, having that car down the inside and coming across to continue his line through the corner.
Very honestly, Louis Schreiber did him a favor there. As the gap was a little bit less than a car width from the curbing on the turn-in. And
the pit window now open, so some of these drivers further back in the pack may consider stopping straight away. They don't have to pass the sign. They just have to stop after it opens. So 10 minutes on the clock now for that stop to happen. Of course, if there's a full course caution, expect a huge amount of action down in pit lane. So there we are, that battle in Pro 1500, Vaughan Gleiss with Andy Lowe in the thick of it. So that was that other car I think I was looking for. Spencer Schmidt, Andy Lowe in the white Valor Racing car today. I'm playing tricks on the eyes of the commentator. Andy Lowe having to pick up a different car. So there he is, following the white car of Vaughan Gleiss, the 18 proper performance machine. And Vaughan very unlucky to have his third place taken away in yesterday's race. The car slightly too low as it came across the tech scales. So Gleiss looking to make amends again, and has certainly done a good job carving his way right up through the field. It's got to be on for the Sunoco Hard Charger, I'd say. And Andy Lowe, Spencer Schmidt, Chris Hunn. Chris Hunn having a good look now as Spencer Schmidt has to really defend on the inside into Canada Corner. Chris Hunn with some fantastic speed out of Primal Racing this weekend. Driver from Georgia joined us at Barber, and I suspect we're going to see him at Laguna as well. Primal Racing fielding 6 cars, so a few cars come into pit lane. As we mentioned, it's going to feel like eternity as they have to come to a stop, be calm, make sure they don't go over the speed limit in pit lane. And you can see a very unhappy, was that Vaughan Gleiss that was flashing the lights? Maybe Jack Yang, one of the plain white cars in the field.
Jack Yang, of course, made contact in race 2 at the turn 5 barrier.
Yeah, I think that might have been Vaughan Gleiss that was flashing the lights in pit lane, getting held up a little bit in the fast lane. And disaster for a man that was
Steve Jenks
leading this race. Steve Jenks. Steve Jenks slows, so the 68. And does he have damage? I think he might. It's a bit hard to tell.
Yeah, it looks like he may take the shortcut at 5, and he does.
So Steve Jenks out of this motor race after a strong start. Wayne Williams in the lead. John Field sits second. Louis Schreiber up to third. Vaughan Gleiss is shown in the lead, so he's remained out. So he wasn't in pit lane, I don't think. It was Vaughan Gleiss that remained out ahead of Spencer Schmidt. Chris Hunn's also out, rounding the carousel, and so too is Anzaldi. So these guys electing to take a little bit of clean air, certainly cleaner air. But this is a huge battle between the 53 of Chris Hunn, Spencer Schmidt. Again, having to defend. That's not what you want in this round of pit stops. Spencer Schmidt's defending hard. The Graham Rahal performance driver has had a pretty unlucky weekend. And we'll see if they come into pits this time by. So the pair continue on. Louis Schreiber's trundling down the pit lane.
Of course, these mandatory pit stops do include a time limit to make it even and across the board.
So as you can see, the team just going to work there, just resetting the tyre pressures on Louis' car. They're free to work on the car. Nice and calm by JBR Racing. Louis Schreiber will be anxious to get going. About 5 minutes into the pit window.
Another car coming into pit lane now.
And smooth sailing for Louis Schreiber in the pits. So David Mason heads into pit lane. Vaughan Glace is in pits now. So too, it would appear Raiden Nicol has just come out. He's now touring. So we'll see where he comes out, because Raiden Nicol was in the lead of Pro 1500. Spencer Schmidt has taken over the lead. He's still out there touring around. And Schmidt now under less pressure because the 53 of Hun has got Mike Anzaldi closing in on the gearbox. So someone laying a fair bit of Hankook rubber down the pit lane as they were exiting. So we'll wait and see how these pit stops unfold. The other one to look out for...
Field on pit lane.
Yeah, and that's exactly who I was going to mention, John Field. The other one to look out for, and in fact Wayne Williams has also followed suit. So too has Scott Wagner. So the top three all blinking into the pits. I suspect a lot of drivers will this time by. Spencer Schmidt comes in, so too Chris Hun, Mike Anzaldi as well, Jack Yang. So the pits are getting busy as we count down the clock for this pit window. And you can see that it's very busy at the pointy end of the paddock. So John Field with Wayne Williams, Scott Wagner, that's the top three in the Platinum class.
You can see with the camera shot with the pit stops here, it's quite breezy still this afternoon.
And it's going to be very, very close, I think, between John Field and... is that the 111 of Louis Schreiber? It is. So Louis Schreiber has, I think, leapfrogged a couple of competitors there in that round of pit stops. John Field comes out. He's still in the lead, but it's Louis Schreiber who now sits second. So Wayne Williams has been relegated to third. Scott Wagner, I think, has even eclipsed Wayne Williams. And Wayne Williams is tumbling down the order, so disaster for him at the moment. Raiden Nicol finds himself fourth outright. Unbelievable stuff from Primal Racing. And Valen Venkatesh as well, fifth outright. So this is going to be an interesting race now with a number of out-of-class cars mixed in. Andy Lowe has moved up as well. He's looking for a podium in the Pro 1500 class. Andy Lowe having a pretty wild ride yesterday down through turn 12. And Vaughan Glace, what can he do? That would be a fairy tale finish if he could find a podium position. Sits fourth in class at the moment.
Final about 16 minutes left to go here in the final Radical Cup North America race of the weekend. Field on the outlap, Wagner on the outlap, and Zaldi, Schmidt, Hun, Yang, all on outlaps right now. And there's Field and Louis Schreiber at the head end of this field. That is first and second, currently in Platinum and overall here. Schreiber, of course, pitted the lap before Field.
Yeah, and it was a good pit stop by both John Field and Louis Schreiber. There's no doubt about that. The team's getting it right because John Field, solid job by them, and Louis Schreiber capitalizing, moving up a couple of positions. Scott Wagner not having fun at all in the pits, really. He lost out a lot of track time. because he's miles down that straightaway. And the biggest loser from that one is definitely Wayne Williams, who's tumbled down the order.
Yeah, I'm not certain what happened, but it does appear that that Williams, he's on the outlap, but their pit stop was considerably longer, it appears.
So the pit window's closed. Hopefully everyone did make their stop. We ride on board Louis Schreiber working the tiller as he comes down into turn 5. The rear end of the SR10 just stepping out a little bit under brakes, and then back on the power as he heads up turn 6. And you can see there he's just run wide a little bit out of turn 6.
So it sounds like Clapham, who is currently in the lead at 13:40 with a potential penalty for a pit stop violation.
Well, that's disaster for Brady Clapham. Ryspec Racing. Drama for them in this round of mandatory pit stops. You can't afford to short stop. It's going to be a drive-through penalty for him. So all of that hard work from Brady Clapham's come undone. This is going to hand Mike D'Ambrose Sr. first place in Pro 1340. It's going to elevate Kenny Nail, no doubt, and Aaron Ziegler as well. It's a really long pit lane. We're just getting word now that 67 is slowing down on the racetrack. That's James Long from Primal Racing. And James Long had been, well, he's sitting 6th at the moment. So he certainly had plenty of, he'd clawed his way up. And we're getting reports that the engine sounds a little rough. The heat has taken its toll here, no doubt, on James Long. So John Field just finding a little bit of pace with 13 minutes remaining. I thought for a while that Louis Schreiber was closing in on him after the round of pit stops, but it seems to be now John Field's found his rhythm. He said he was around about 10 mile an hour down in terms of top speed yesterday. The team having a look overnight, replacing a lot of electrical components in that car, just trying to make sure they'd covered their bases, and took the car off site to ensure that it was running properly. All systems were a go, and John Field is leading this motor race. So Valen Venkatesh is making his way to pit lane. Now, I suspect, Arul Venkatesh is making his way to pit lane. So that's an odd one, and possibly a pit lane violation for him as well. So the younger brother, Valen, though, is now in second in class. Tremendous stuff from the rookie. Raiden Nicol not putting a foot wrong, though. And there's action in turn 5. A little bit of side-by-side. So the field stretched out more than I'd expect through this round of pit stops.
So Venkatesh had a penalty, so that was a drive-through from the pit stop violation. So that was the second car that had pit stop violation along with Clapham.
The driver who's impressed me perhaps the most is Andy Lowe. Gold class driver from the UK. This is his first time here this weekend at Road America. Had an issue yesterday, damaged the car, has stepped into different machinery. In fact, he's borrowing Jack Yang's spare car. And so,
which is interesting because Jack Yang had problems yesterday and made some contact with the wall and had some considerable damage as well.
Yeah, so interesting story. Jack Yang went into, well, what was his spare car, and the primary car then was rebuilt for Andy Lowe, is I believe the sequence of events there. Now, I'm sure with the speed that Jack Yang had, a lot of the setup was taken out of that car before they handed it over to JBR, but perhaps not. Andy Lowe is flying around this racetrack at the moment, sits third in class. Fourth in place has been relegated to fourth through the pit stops. Mike Anzaldi's sort of maintained position. Spencer Schmidt has tumbled down the order a little bit. Luke Kendall's right in the thick of things as well, and Jack Yang has made a fairly good charge through the pack. There is Spencer Schmidt coming through on screen, and to the inside that looked like Luke Kendall.
So Clapham going to come to pit lane for the drive-through.
And great side-by-side action as they exit turn 3 down the long straightaway here into turn 5. The Pro 1500 drivers hustling, and there's been someone off. That's 14, is it?
Yes.
Turn 14, and very, very lucky that there wasn't a bigger incident.
That was the 10 car, we believe, which would have been Kelly from Group A.
So Dennis Kelly having a big moment there. Lucky not to do a... who was that? One of the Penske drivers in the IndyCar race. Found himself on the inside wall there.
Newgarden.
Newgarden. So there we have this great battle between Spencer Schmidt, followed by Jack Yang, Luke Kendall, Chris Hunn. Chris Hunn looking very racy on his teammate, Luke Kendall. Luke Kendall, a young gun in the field. So many of these drivers looking to make a mark and star in front of the IndyCar team owners. An alternative pathway up through motorsport, really, the Radical Cup Series. Of course, Jordan Missig winning the Pro 1500 Championship last year with Graham Rahal Performance, and stepping up to Indy next. And the dust has been kicked up a little bit.
Considering that we did have probably about a quarter of an inch of rain throughout the early portion of the weekend, the track remarkably is dry. There's a lot of dust today because of how much moisture has been lifted and elevated because of the high temperatures, which is why that it feels so humid out there. Heat index around 100 degrees at race start. Track temperature a little bit cooler this afternoon at about 108 degrees currently.
Yeah, this is tough day at the office for these guys. Even though they're open cockpit cars, as someone runs reasonably wide there at the exit of turn 1, I think the pressure is on. You can see that Spencer Schmidt has Jack Yang under his wing. Luke Kendall with Chris Hunn under the gearbox as well.
It's one thing we don't have here this weekend is the closed cockpit variant of these Radicals.
No, in fact, Ben Blander just about to take delivery of one of those, a very special car that we created for Ben Blander. And Blander not having the day he wanted. He's down in 25th position and 12 laps out. So Ben, some issues for him, but a stunning car. I can't say too much because it's a very special delivery that's taking place for Ben Blander very soon. But the pictures I've seen, that car is absolutely stunning. Check out the Radical social media channels. It will certainly be unveiled on that after Ben has seen it and driven it for the first time. So Mike D'Ambrose Sr. is well in command of Pro 1340. The interesting thing is Brady Clapham he lost a spot, but you'd almost expect he would have gone down, tumbled down the order. He still sits second in class. And so Kenny Nail, Aaron Ziegler, and Dermot Ennis weren't able to capitalize on that drive-through penalty.
And in that 1340 category, looks like there's a battle there in 13.
Yeah, Jack Yang's looking super racy, isn't he? Right on the gearbox of Spencer Schmidt, who's spent most of this race defending hard. I think he's certainly going to, if you got points for defense, Spencer Schmidt's earning those today. Jack Yang has a good run, though. They go down the front straightaway. And you'd like to think into turn 1, Jack Yang is going to pop. He does so to the outside. Spencer defending hard, but Yang with plenty of top speed. Impressive stuff from the Chinese driver. And he's gone down into turn 1, easily eclipses Spencer Schmidt. And Schmidt running very, very wide at the exit of turn 1 as he tries to hang on to the back end of Jack Yang. Did get a good run out of turn 1. and out of turn 3, so perhaps he'll be able to repay the favour as they go under the Sargentino Bridge, down into turn 5. Spencer Schmidt losing a position. That was for 9th in class, or sorry, 9th outright, and 6th in class. So Jack Yang seems to have survived that counter-attack for now. And Luke Kendall looking on as all of that was happening. Mike Anzaldi ahead of Jack Yang. And Mike Anzaldi in that Rothmans Williams homage livery. Mike Anzaldi races the fun way, really. Always with his father and mother at the racetrack. They make the most of driving across the country, enjoying themselves. Anzaldi, always a strong competitor in Radical Cup. Also hails from Autobahn Country Club. And Chris Hunn, who had been right on the back of Luke Kendall's, just dropped off there. So Luke Kendall's certainly soaking up some pressure. Learned a couple of things yesterday, and that's the point of these cars. Great training tools. Of course, plenty of drivers have gone on to bigger and better things at Le Mans. We've seen the likes of George Kurtz, John Falb, numerous alumni taking to the podium at Les Arth. Plenty of drivers too, all around the world racing in these machines. And that's the other fun thing. Andy Lowe races in the United Kingdom Series, has come out here to try his luck against the North Americans. I suspect we'll see him back here in November in Virginia. So we're under 3 minutes now as we watch Wayne Williams try and salvage some points. He sits 4th, so he slowly is carving back up through the field. But it's a lonesome race for Mr. Williams, who again finds that Lady Luck is definitely nowhere near his side.
You got to start wondering where he's going to find either a horseshoe or a rabbit's foot to put somewhere in the passenger side of that race car.
I think that's my next purchase for Wayne Williams, because this guy races hard. We were talking last night, reminiscing about his sprint car days. The guy's spent a lot of time on the dirt, now on the tarmac, and understands what it takes to ride a high horsepower bucking Bronco like the SR10. So, John Field just coming through turn 3 there. We're following him. And John Field passing a back marker under the bridge. John Field by his lonesome. Louis Schreiber has dropped back as we were watching that Pro 1500 fight. It's Brady Clapham that he's just put a lap on. So Clapham is in 18th. John Field has lapped everyone to that point. John Field on absolute autopilot, on cruise control as he rounds this circuit. And it really does show you know, drivers with that kind of experience just don't lose their mettle. They don't lose the racecraft. They don't lose their ability to fight. John Field certainly has got plenty of years of experience in the American Le Mans Series. He's our reigning champion in the Platinum class. In fact, 2 years running. So John Field knows how to drive these machines. He presses the brake pedal hard down into turn 12. Brady Clapham follows behind, picking up something, no doubt, from the master himself. John Field coming around. And you can see he just takes a slightly tighter line finds the grip through the final corner. So the white flag is out for John Field. And he starts his final lap. Scott Wagner, 13 seconds off the pace. 20 seconds, sorry, off Louis Schreiber, who's 13 seconds off John Field. Raiden Nicole, solid job for him.
He's had a fantastic weekend as a rookie competitor in the Radical Cup. You know, he's had some struggles, but you kind of expect some mistakes. But Raiden Nicholas performed admirably well all weekend.
Making amends for, what was in reality a very small mistake with big consequences during the test day, finding the wall at the exit of the carousel and shrugging all of that off, which is not easy to do. He made a lot of hard work for the team, certainly was pretty sheepish in the paddock, reset the next morning, took a win, has converted that, what looks to be like 3 wins from 3 starts here this weekend. That will be 9 in a row. That's every single race of the season so far. So John Field again just using that tighter line around the carousel. It's worked well for him all weekend long. It's quite different to the line that Steve Jenks had, mind you. And Mike D'Ambrose Sr. still in the lead of Pro 1340. Oh, and a big lunge there. So there's still racing going on ahead of John Field. The car's climbing. Certainly John Field climbing through 13 into 14 for the final time.
Did you happen to see the zoo on top of that golf cart in that last shot? Just completely distracted there by the golf cart.
The fans around Road America know how to have fun as John Field takes the win here in the final race of the Radical Cup North America Series. And Louis Schreiber cruises up the front straight. He's got the visor open. And Louis Schreiber brings home the 111 machine in second place. Scott Wagner rounds out the top 3. So a good day for JBR Racing, taking second and third. And now we await Raiden Nicole to claim every single win halfway through the year. And he does it, Raiden Nicole. 9 wins from 9 starts. A perfect season so far for the young gun from Georgia. And certainly a name to keep an eye on for the future. So Valen Venkatesh, he finds the podium here at Road America. A strong result for the rookie driver. Following in his brother's footsteps, it was mighty close there at the end. And Vaughn Glace is back on the podium. Somehow he carved through Mike Anzaldi, Andy Lowe. Not sure exactly what happened there, but Vaughn Glace has come through with a podium right at the end. Mike Anzaldi in 4th, Andy Lowe 5th.
Poor Mike Anzaldi, honestly. He has had a weekend that he would like to forget, I'm sure. Hadn't made it to the podium this weekend. Struggled a bit as well. But looking at 1340, it's still waiting for your race-winning car of Mike D'Ambrose Sr. for Team Stradale. He is yet to cross the start-finish line.
Yeah, it's amazing how many cars that John Field lapped throughout the field up to 18th position. And so we're just waiting for those final cars to circulate. D'Ambrose has done it. So he is through, our winner in 1340. He'll be a happy man too on the podium, sticking it to the young guns in the class. Brady Clapham salvages second place after that drive-through penalty. And Kenny Nail back on the podium for Graham Rahal Performance. So there's the unofficial results. John Field taking the outright win. Louis Schreiber second. Scott Wagner third. Raiden Nicole, fourth overall, first in Pro 1500. Valen Venkatesh taking the second place in that class. Vaughn Glace, third. And then we have to go back to 14th.
How about the race fans here this weekend, Tom?
Yeah,
they've been fantastic.
All sorts of gestures to the to the track cameras there, but good to see everyone having some fun. And thanks for sticking around and watching race 3 of the Radical Cup North America Series. That wraps up the racing action, not all the on-track action, but the racing action here at Road America for the IndyCar weekend. What a weekend it's been.
You know, the Radical Cup, this was, other than the first full course yellow here, this race was what we kind of wanted to see. We wanted to see some green flag action all the way through. So not quite all the way green to checkered, but it's been a fantastic weekend for Radical Cup North America here at America's National Park of Speed. There's some other another session yet to go here with our Vintage Indy Registry yet to come here at Road America, but also here if you're watching the stream as well, we'll have podium celebrations for you as long as we can certainly get to them. But Tom, as always, it's great to see you. Can't wait till the next time we see Radical Cup North America here at America's National Park of Speed. It's been fantastic.
We can't wait to be back next year. It's always a pleasure to be up here and put on a show for all you race fans. And thank you for watching from around the world on the Radical Cup live stream.
So waiting on Tom to get down to victory podium and cars to pull into Parc Ferme. There's a good look at the Briggs & Stratton Motorplex. Probably the last round of what I would think is our spectator karting. Ended at 4 o'clock, so probably the last group out for spectator karting. The Briggs & Stratton Motorplex, normally a Tuesday night race week, but that race for this coming Tuesday night moved to a Thursday night. They've got another event happening on Tuesday here at America's National Park of Speed. Not just our race weekends here at Road America. We've got, between the two tracks, roughly about 400 days worth of on-track activity. One of the shuttles as well there with the shuttle stop back over at the bottom of Hurry Downs, right at the entrance to the carousel, turn 8. But Radical Cup North America, fantastic weekend, all 3 races. Something for everybody in Radical Cup. You like green flag action, we were able to get some good laps in today. If you like a little bit of elbows out, side-by-side driving, you probably experienced that this weekend in Radical Cup. And a great celebration forthcoming at the Road America's Victory Lane. You see some Radical drivers milling about, getting set for podium celebrations. 3 classes, and of course gold and rookie competitors as well. So Platinum, Pro 1500, Pro 1340. Celebration. There's Tom walking center screen. So he'll grab a microphone and get the celebration underway here for our podium for Radical Cup North America. So if you're still joining us on the stream, thanks so much for watching all weekend long. We appreciate it. We love showing off this racetrack, and we love showing off these Radical Cup cars. Great competition, friendly atmosphere, great paddock space, a couple of autograph sessions this weekend, great fan access. That's the best part about weekends with Radical Cup here at Road America as well. And all of these drivers and teams sharing their race cars with the race fans, young and old. More than happy to talk about their race cars and their history as well. So excited for this podium celebration at America's National Park of Speed. Again, for those of you here at the racetrack, Vintage Indy Registry going to come up in about 10 minutes or so from right now. So we'll go through the podium celebrations in just moments from Victory Lane.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to celebrate the victors in the Radical Cup North America Series. Ladies and gentlemen, make your way into the podium area. Got some extra foliage around here, thanks to IndyCar. Of course, some big celebrations already in this arena. And now it's time to celebrate some more winners. We'll start, as we often do, with the Pro 1340 class. Congratulations, home third for Graham Rahal Performance, Kenny Nail. And thank you to Josh Tidd, Radical Technical Delegate here in the USA, awarding the trophies today. In second place, he salvaged after a drive-through penalty. It was a strong weekend. Congratulations, Brady Clapham. And it's sort of been coming, I feel, all weekend long. This old dog still has plenty of tricks up his sleeve. Mike D'Ambrose taking the win in Pro 1340. Mike, it was only a few nights ago we were catching up after not seeing each other for a long time in the restaurant down in town. And you mentioned you'd have some speed around here, always confident. After seeing you for so many years racing out here, I had no doubt. But you've had some tough competition either side. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. It was awesome. This one over here is a pain in the ass, but I love him to death. And I wish all the best of luck to everybody and you finishing the season.
Congratulations, Mike. Lovely words. And just reiterating that it was a pain in the ass in a good way. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give these guys one more big round of applause. Those trophies at chest height. And they're nice and high. Mike D'Ambrose taking the win. Brady Clapham second. Kenny Nail third. Congratulations. We'll bring in the champagne. The good thing is the only thing those suits have to do next is get dry cleaned. So it's time to celebrate, gentlemen. Let's give Mike D'Ambrose a big send-off here on the podium. Just going to get prepared. No rush. Let's just make sure you're ready. 3, 2, 1, let's celebrate. Well done, boys. Very good job. Great to see Mike D'Ambrose take away a win. Congratulations to him. And in the gold class, congratulations. This is a nice way to finish the weekend. He shrugged his shoulders a little bit. He'll take this, though. Congratulations, Mike Anzaldi. Well, mate, it's been a little while since you've taken a gold class win. You're back in the fight with Mr. Yang, I think.
The old guys. How about a hand for the old guys? But you know what? How can you not be romantic about racing? We out in the first race. Not a great second race. A penalty. An idiot move by me. The third race. Here we are. Thanks, Simon, Colin, James. Without those three, I'm hanging out watching everybody up here. So thank you and thank to them.
Well, congratulations. Just take we'll take a quick photo, and then if you could take a step just to the side of the third place, we'll get a couple of photos here and bring in the man who was third. He was also our Sunoco hard charger from the back of the pack to the podium. Congratulations, Vaughan Glace. And we'll quickly take a shot with the Sunoco Hard Charger Award. Congratulations, Vaughan. Let's get a quick shot there for the paparazzi. And then whilst you celebrate that, that was an awesome drive. You got to tell me about it, though, because it seemed after lap one, you'd made up, I don't know how many positions, but it was just an awesome start.
Well, after yesterday, we had a little bit of a fire, pushing us forward, and we had to put some good laps together, make some moves. Car was great, made minor adjustments, and yeah, it was just magic. It was awesome.
Well, congratulations. I hope today that car is nice and high, sitting off the deck, because we don't want to see this one taken away from you. We're going to bring in your trophy, and we will bring on the next man to the podium. A new name to the podium. What a superstar today. Congratulations for Cameron Racing, Radical Northwest, Valen Venkatesh. Valen, well done, mate. This was a hot day at the office. We mentioned that on the commentary. Unbelievable job through the pit stops, fending off all sorts of fast competitors. You found your pace this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just kind of got a good start. I had some clean air, and I just kind of drove it like a practice session.
Now, your older brother's been doing this for a little bit longer. I think you've got the bragging rights at the dinner table tonight.
Unfortunately, I won't be seeing him for dinner. He has to run for his flight.
Well, I'm sure you'll be rubbing it in just a little bit. Congratulations, your first podium in the Radical Cup North America Series. Very well done to you. But it seems like whilst there's people knocking on the door of the podium and of wins, no one can stop this next man. It's 9 wins, a clean sweep halfway through the season. Congratulations, Raider Nicole for Primal Racing. And Raiden, I don't know what else you've got to say up here on the podium. We've done this so many times, but congratulations. That must feel amazing to have a perfect score heading into the second half of the season.
Yeah, no, it feels great. It was a great weekend overall. Many highs, many lows, but yeah, if it wasn't for the team, especially the guys at Stradale, wouldn't be here, wouldn't have had 3 wins. So if it wasn't for them, this weekend wouldn't have been as good as it was.
Well, congratulations. I'm sure there's a few competitors that will be trying to knock you off your perch when it comes to Laguna Seca. That, of course, is the next round. But for now, it's time to celebrate. Mike Anzaldi, come on in. And Raiden, get that hat sorted. Valen, step on in there, guys. Those trophies at chest height. Ladies and gentlemen, give these guys a big round of applause. Top 3 in the Pro 1500 class, the winner of gold, Mike Anzaldi. We'll bring in some champagne to celebrate. And Valen Venkatesh needs to be given a dressing down here. Gentlemen, let's get ready to celebrate. 3, 2, 1. Well done. Well done. Mike Anzaldi takes a swig. Congratulations, gents. And in our Platinum class, wow, if you thought Pro 1500 was fierce this weekend, Platinum certainly was too. On the podium for JBR Racing, another fresh face. Congratulations, Scott Wagner. Scott, I'm going to talk to you more before the race. And I think also you should play a bit more golf perhaps in the morning of race day. I think we've found success.
Yeah, Whistling Straits treated me well. Road America treated me well. Love this place.
Congratulations, mate. That's a fantastic job done today in the heat here at Road America. Home second. He backs up a stellar win yesterday with another podium. Congratulations, Louis Schreiber. Louis, a big win yesterday, another podium, more points, importantly, for the championship. This has been a very, very good weekend at Road America.
Yeah, it was a great weekend to catch up on some of the championship points that we needed to. Really owe it to the JBR team a ton. Tom, I also want to put a big thank you to you. You brought a lot of awareness to the Marko Nikolic Foundation and stuff. I heard you over there. Deeply appreciated. It filled very empty hearts. So thank you. Great event. Look forward to seeing you guys all at Laguna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Louis. And he said he was down on horsepower yesterday. Definitely full horses today. Congratulations. He's running up here with some vigor, Mr. John Field. And John, the car went off site for a quick run just to make sure it was all A-OK, I believe. It certainly was. You came back with a vengeance today.
Yeah, well, thank you to Jeff and the team, Kyle, and all the guys. They worked really hard. They had to kind of replace a lot of things. The front guys were really fast. Louis and Steve and Wayne and Chip were all, it was a dogfight. I mean, anybody could have won that race. So I feel very blessed. Good Lord was good to all of us today.
Well, congratulations. The two-time champion is back on the top step of the podium here at Road America. Congratulations to John Field, Louis Schreiber, Scott Wagner for taking third place. Those trophies are nice and high. Ladies and gentlemen, give those guys a big round of applause. All right, if there's three blokes that should know how to pop some bottles, it's these guys. We'll bring in the champagne. And John Field's already going for it. Well done, gentlemen. What a way to celebrate with the family here at Road America. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Radical Cup North America. We're on to Laguna Seca, and then it's off to Road Atlanta before we wrap the season up at Lime Rock Park. And then it's off to the World Finals at Virginia International Raceway. There is plenty of racing yet to come from the Radical Cup North America. Safe travels, and we'll see you there.